So the third and final season of the Netflix hit show Young Royals is out, and I couldn't be happier. I mean, it far surpassed my expectations. I find it kind of unexpected that a TV show about a royal prince in a very fancy private school would be one of the most realistic and grounded current teen TV shows. Teen dramas have long been a staple of popular culture, offering escapism and relatable narratives for young audiences. However, they often fall short in portraying the complexities of teenage life, resorting to stereotypes and sensationalized storylines. Netflix Young Royals, especially its recently released third season, breaks this mold by presenting a nuanced and realistic exploration of teen problems, especially mental health struggles, within the framework of a captivating royal drama. But I'll be delving into all of that in a little bit, and obviously some aspects that I felt weren't as perfect, and to finish off, what I thought of the finale of the show. Hi, my name is Ines, and this season picks up a little bit after the end of season 2, where Wilhelm, the Crown Prince of Sweden, kind of publicly announces that he's in a relationship with Simone, and Sarah makes a police complaint against August for sharing on the internet an intimate video of Wilhelm and Simone. So, at the beginning of the season, there were a lot of high tensions and broken relationships, but one relationship that was intact and seemingly thriving was Simone and Wilhelm. So that's what I'll be talking about first. Personally, the stage where they are in this season is my favorite. We've had the falling in love, we've had the breakup, and then the understanding that they actually love each other. And now, we get to see them explore a more solid relationship. And I feel like they were both very grown up and invested in one another. This relationship is obviously more complicated than most, with Wilhelm's responsibilities as future king, their class differences, and the pressures and disadvantages of being in the public eye. While Wilhelm is dealing with the death of his brother, the pressures of being the future king, and the burnout of his mother, Simone is dealing with bullying, cyber abuse, and life threats. All these issues are much more than any teenager should have to deal with, and yet it seems like it forced them to grow up and understand what really matters, leading to a much more mature relationship than I'm used to, not only in teen dramas, but in TV shows in general. Here, not only are they dealing with their own problems, but they are also simultaneously supporting each other. The key factors in their relationship seem to be communication and understanding. And I cannot tell you how many times I've felt so frustrated because TV show couples have a lot of pointless fights that could be simply fixed if only they had talked and trusted each other. Here, for the most part, they're very open and feel like they can depend on one another. That does not mean they do not fight. I think it's quite healthy that they do, but even in those fights, they seem to try and hear one another, and most of the time I understood both their point of view. I mean, even when they break up, Wilhelm still understands and respects Simone. I also particularly enjoy Wilhelm expressing his needs when it was his birthday, as I feel it can be quite difficult to tell your partner what you need. I'll be talking a little bit more about their relationship later in this video when I talk about the end of the show, but as I said before, this season is packed with many important issues, and I really like that they focus this season on the hazing, the old traditions, and peer pressure. These topics, and hazing in particular, were already a relevant part of the show in previous seasons, but it was something that, just like the students, I, as a viewer, accepted as a common practice in these schools and environments. This is also a big issue here in Portugal, especially at the university level, and some students have even died. I think that they did an amazing job showcasing what a complex issue it is and how these cultures of silence can be so hard to break. Obviously, these initiations are not always a bad thing, as long as you're doing it completely voluntarily and having a good time. But here, the fear of retribution, the strength of peer pressure, and the normalization of these hazing practices and traditions are more than clear. I think it's easier to accept that some of these practices are just something that is normal and that you have to go through to prove yourself and to be a part of a group, than it is to accept that you were put through some unacceptable experiences. Also, the emotional manipulation of having several restrictions and the threats of the school closing and many students losing their home and their friends shows how this entire situation was misdealt in this school. Next, I want to talk about my new favorite character, August. Personally, I love a good redemption story, and he's a very complex and realistic bad boy as he's elected in the finalists' dinner. Last season, we already got to see the more broken side of August and the pressure he puts on himself to thrive in school and be a relevant part of the monarchy, because of his desire to be loved and have friends and a family, and that, to a certain level, is very relatable. I think that he is one of the best depictions in TV of male eating disorders and body image issues, as they make those something that he's struggling with without making them his only defining characteristic. Lately, we've been seeing a normalization on social media of overtraining and compulsive exercise, which can, in many situations, such as August's, become maladaptive and hide an underlying problem. Excessive exercise often goes hand in hand with restrictive eating habits, and August's confession of how he feels when he doesn't eat was very raw and realistic. During the first 5 episodes of the season, I was not the biggest fan of how the writers kept focusing on August and Sarah, and in general making the characters believe that these romantic relationships would fix all their problems. August says that she's the only one who truly understands him, and so obviously he seems quite obsessed with getting back together with her. The problem here is that we are telling teenagers that it's okay to expect your partner to fix everything that wasn't right before, and obviously not only is this a completely wrong premise, but it also puts a gigantic and unrealistic pressure on the partner and on the relationship. That is also very clear in the relationship between Simone and Wilhelm, with Simone saying several times that he's trying to help, but that doesn't seem to make Wilhelm better. And that then leads to putting a huge strain on the relationship, with Simone finally saying that love shouldn't be this hard. Dealing with these types of issues that many of the characters are dealing is not something that other people their age will be able to fully help with. In the last season, we've had Wilhelm going to the school psychologist, which was a great move on the creators' part, but this season it feels like they missed out on doing the same thing with August and focusing more on the show on that. Initially, I cannot tell you how excited I was at how it was all playing out. Seeing August and Wilhelm forced to work together in therapy was a great response to their fight, and then, to top it off, August even got a one-on-one session with Boris when Wilhelm didn't show. But then, we barely scratched the surface, and the creators turned back on focusing a lot of August's storyline on his relationship with Sarah, which obviously he sees as this illusion of a lifeline. Happily, in the finale, Sarah has one of her best moments in the show, when she stands up for herself and chooses not to get together with August even if she likes him, because, as she says, he only loves the person that he is when he is with her, and not Sarah herself. Sarah, for the most part, is definitely not my favorite character, but I would say that she quite stole the finale, showing some real growth and putting other people, namely Simone, first. I also absolutely love how the creators focused not only on the romantic relationships, but also on friendships and, more importantly, female relationships with Sarah and Felice. Another thing that Young Royals keeps getting right over other more recent teen shows is the size of the ensemble. TV series like Sex Education and Euphoria started adding more and more characters to the cast, leading to superficial storylines and very little character depth, which just led to me not really connecting with many of the new characters. Here, we've had mostly the same cast with some secondary characters occasionally popping up, and they do a really good job giving everyone from the core cast the spotlight and focusing more on some characters in each season, like Felice and August, without losing the focus on Simone and Wilhelm. It's also a show that is not hyper-sexualized and doesn't have such a big focus on drug abuse. It still focuses on alcohol and occasionally on prescription drugs, but I feel like it provides a more relatable depiction of being a teenager for viewers to be able to relate to. Overall, the show is very well written and acted. Obviously, there is a degree of dramatization for viewer retention, like the death of Eric, for example, but for the most part, as I said, I think that the show did a good job portraying and presenting difficult topics, and it all felt very natural. Acting and dialogue-wise, I don't know if it's just me, but whenever I see a TV show in a language that I'm not familiar with, I have a hard time judging if the acting is really as good as it looks. Here it looked and sounded very good, and many of the performances of these young actors seemed way beyond their years. But I think that in Portuguese and English I can more easily see if the dialogue is forced or if it doesn't sound natural. Still, I 100% always advise you to see TV shows and movies in their original language. So let's finish off this video with the ending of the show. I was quite nervous all week if they were going to tarnish a really good season with a bad ending, but I think that they did quite a good job, and I think that the fans will be quite happy. The school closing works quite well, and it justifies ending the show here. It kind of turned this final episode into a proper goodbye, with all the characters also saying goodbye to this period of their lives. The fact that Wilhelm could now have a mature conversation with his parents about how he doesn't want to be king shows how far he has come, even if I felt like this issue was dealt with quite quickly in the end. Personally, I was okay if the creators had chosen for Wilhelm and Simone not to end up together, because even though there was no doubt that they love each other, unfortunately in life that is not always enough. And maybe they were only supposed to be in each other's life for this year and change each other and be each other's revolution. I think fans will like it better like this, but maybe we could have had them meet after a while and reconnect. The only character whose storyline I feel wasn't given a proper closing was August, but maybe there could be a spin-off as he learns to be the future king. I'm quite sad that the show is ending, but a part of me is glad that it's not overstaying its welcome. Even if a TV show is popular, sometimes it's better to leave on a high note and with a good ending than it is to keep stretching the storyline with no purpose and diminishing the show's quality. Still, this show leaves me hopeful for the future of teen shows. Thank you so much for watching. As always, this is only my opinion, and I cannot wait to what you think of this season. This is a new channel, so if you like this video, please consider subscribing. I have a long list of videos that I want to make, and I cannot wait to share it with you.